It is now 6:30 on Tuesday, January the 17th, 2017. We're at Ratcliffe City Hall, 411 West Lincoln Trail Boulevard, Ratcliffe, Kentucky. And the regular council meeting will now come to order. And the invocation will be by Pastor Michael Fight of All Nations Worship Church. Would you stand and join us?
Let us pray. Dear most gracious and Heavenly Father, God, we come to you today thanking you, first of all, for our life, our health, and our strength. God, we come thanking you for this opportunity, Lord God, to come together, Lord God, to witness our leaders of this city in action. Father, we pray for their unity. We rebuke any confusion or anything that might come between them, Lord God. We also pray, God, that as they stand here, sit and set an example for the young and the older that are in here, God, that it'll be an example that represents you. Father, we also pray that everything that is done within these chambers are done in decency and in order. Father, we pray, Lord God, for your strength, that you will lead them and guide them in making the decisions for the future of our city, Lord, for the welfare of our citizens and the people within this community. Father, we also pray that you will protect them, protect their families, Lord God, and as they prosper, that the people that are in here and in our city will prosper. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Would you please remain standing and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary, would you call a roll?
Barbara Baker. Here. Dan Holmes.
Present.
Edward Palmer.
Here.
Tanya Seabrook. Here. Kim Thompson.
Present.
Chris Yates.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, before you have the minutes of a special called meeting, a work session, and another special called meeting. So whenever you are ready, we would take a motion on the first one, which is the minutes of 12 December special called meeting.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Thank you.
Palmer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any discussion on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion on the minutes for the 12 December work session.
So moved.
Stand on.
Second.
Barbara Baker. Okay. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now need a motion on the minutes for 20 December, which is also another special called meeting.
So moved.
Tim
Second.
Thompson, have a second?
Second.
Chris, second. Okay, any discussion on those? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That takes us to old business, and the old business, the first thing we have is second reading of a zoning ordinance. Councilor Pike.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a summary of a zoning ordinance rezoning of property located on the east side of Deckard School Road between Midway Manor and Lafayette Court, PVA map number 182-20-20-053.02 from residential residential 4, R4, and residential 6, R6 zones to residential 4, residential 6, and residential 3 zones. The City of Ratcliffe Planning Commission has conducted a public hearing on a zone map amendment request filed by BCC Enterprises and Properties Incorporated, has made findings of fact in support of the zone map amendment, and has recommended to the Ratcliffe City Council that the real property located on the northeast right-of-way of Deckard School Road between Midway Manor and Lafayette Court, PVA map number 182-20-00-053.02 in Radcliffe, Kentucky, be rezoned per the zone map amendment request. The subject property is located approximately 0.67 miles northwest of the intersection of South Wilson Road and Deckard School Road, and approximately 0.78 miles southeast of the intersection of Deckard School Road and Kentucky 220 in Radcliffe, Kentucky. The total acreage of the subject property is 44.934 acres. 15.976 acres of this property are currently zoned residential 4. 28.958 acres of this property are currently zoned residential 6. The amendment request asks that 18.029 acres of the residential 6 portion be rezoned to residential 3. The proposal, if granted, would result in 18.029 acres being Zone Residential 3, 15.976 acres being Zone Residential 4, and 10.929 acres being Zone Residential 6. Title to the subject property was derived by deed dated February 20, 2015, of record in deed book 1405, pages 1465 through 1467, in the office of the Hardin County Court Clerk. The property is owned by BCC Enterprises and Properties Incorporated. The zoning map shall be amended in accordance with said ordinance. That is a second reading, Mayor. Ready for motion to adopt and roll call vote.
Need a motion to adopt?
Second.
Barbara Baker and,
Mr. Holmes on the second.
any discussion? Seeing no discussion, roll call vote.
Barbara Baker, Yes.
Dan Holmes,
Yes.
Edward Palmer,
Yes.
Tanya Seabrook,
Yes.
Kim Thompson,
Yes.
Chris Yates.
Yes.
We have 6 yeses, it passes.
It passes. Okay, that takes us from old business to new business, and the first item to be discussed is the community pool. And let me tell you where we are on the community pool first. I think we have 3 courses of action that are before the city council. Number 1 is to replace the elbow at a cost of about $1,000. That's the minimum fix that has to be done. Number 2 is take the bid that we have from a mechanical company to patch the pool. Since we talked about that last time, I've had our city engineer go down and look the whole thing over. His recommendation to me is that we do not patch that pool. He says that since he has been the city engineer, we've been patching it every year that he's been here. And if we want the pool to be open and to last, we need to get bids to actually from a pool company that does this as their own business. And so we put an ad in the paper that we would have specs for anybody who wanted to bid, any mechanical company that wanted to bid on it. But we didn't give those specs because after our city engineer looked at it, it's just another patch and it may or may not work. And so I didn't post that, or didn't post those specs, so nobody has bid on that. And so the third thing is for this city council to look at whether we want to solicit bids from pool-specific repair companies to do a more comprehensive repair. And regardless of whether you go with item number, or with course of action 1 or 2, it's going to require a commitment from the city council to pay whatever it takes to make those repairs. And it is not our chief financial officer that will tell you where that money comes from. It's a city council responsibility to say, we want this done and we will find a way to pay for it. And we are willing for the chief financial officer to try to find money at the end of the year, pay for it. But if he doesn't find that, then the money will have to come out of reserves. That's the decision you have to make when you decide how to do this. Our chief financial officer, Chance Fox, in the middle of budget year, cannot tell you where that money would come from. So with that, we're ready for discussion on the pool.
Well, first of all, Mayor, shouldn't we open it for discussion by making a motion?
No, I've talked to my city attorney sitting next to me, and he told me that wasn't necessary.
Okay.
And I've always followed his advice.
That's pretty good.
Okay.
Good question.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's clear that we need to approach the pool with a long-term vision in mind. I don't think we need to do the minimum, which doesn't fix a greater problems we're having with the pool. I don't think we need to patch it. I think we need to look at soliciting bids for the comprehensive repair of the pool. I think the suggestion as to how we pay for it needs to come from the administration to this body. And then it's our job, I think, to help fund whatever recommendations you give to us to pay for it. But if you're willing to turn the budget back over to the city council and have us rework that budget and modify it, I don't think that is going to be a good process for the administration. So I do want to empower you to solicit bids for a more comprehensive repair of the pool. And I'm willing to have a conversation with the administration as to how we could pay for that. I do understand that it's very difficult for the CFO to forecast how we would pay for it this early in the game. But once we get a comprehensive bid as to what it's going to cost, then I think looking at your budget, looking at where you could cut costs or reduce costs to pay for it, and if that's if you want to suggest bonds, if you want to suggest reserves, I think it's our job to listen to that. But I do want to empower you to get comprehensive bids and present us with a plan to fix the pool once and for all. And how we discuss paying for that is something that needs to happen. And I think that process needs to be initiated by the administration. But again, if you want to turn the budget back over to this body and have us rework that budget, I don't think that's a good process for you.
No,
but-
that's not what I want to do.
Okay, right.
That's-
So
that's
I'm
not-
willing to
that's not
entertain.
exactly
right.
how I would do that.
Exactly. So I'm willing to entertain whatever suggestions you come with paying for the pool, but my suggestion is let's go with a more comprehensive approach.
Then
to
I'm
repairing
sure
the
you
pool
probably
once
have
and
some
for all.
ideas already in mind.
That's what we're looking for, is does this city council want to go with a company that does pool repair? Let them come in and give us a bid, and so we can explain to you exactly what has to be done, and get rid of some of the things that I think are unsafe, and of course, our engineer can tell you what some of that is.
I think in the long run.
Yeah, anytime you're ready.
Because I would love to hear what's the plan besides the pump and the chlorine, what are the
What
other
other issues there may
plans
be.
that we need to work on? Because we also have to remember that right now, that pool is grandfathered in. If you go changing a whole lot of things, then it's no longer gonna be grandfathered in, and the pool may be closed for a full year until everything can happen, which is exactly what was trying to happen initially to begin with this pool. So could you please explain?
Now, what was your question, Barbara?
What
I lost it
exactly,
about half-
what exactly are you trying to do? Apparently, we're not just talking about filters and chlorine pumps and the line anymore.
Well, I mean, I think where I was brought into it after the last council meeting, I think it was approved that maybe you all was gonna just replace the filtration system, which was a sand filter. That was the bid on the table when I looked at it. That was about a $35,000 to $40,000 fix, just to replace the 3 existing sand filters with 1 sand filter. Well, my immediate concern on the engineering side was the whole system down there has been piecemealed together. I know there's a lot of issues that go hand in hand with the head, with the head pressure, with the filtration rate and everything. The head loss through the sand filter, all that control the pumping ability of the pumps. Not to get too technical, but when Lori was down there, we spent years, every year we replaced the impellers because it was cavitating.
Didn't you pick
Yeah,
the pump that we needed?
We tweaked it and we fixed that problem. We didn't replace the pumps or anything. Lori was able to get a VFD on it. The pumps that actually is pumping that is actually pretty much a sewage treatment plant pump.
That's how the whole pool was designed when it was
Yeah.
built. It was.
Yeah, it wasn't very, so mingling that pump with a single sand filtration system that I don't know anything about. I don't know the head pressure loss across it, what the flow rate of it is, you gotta pump so many gallons a minute, you gotta treat, you gotta cycle it through so many times an hour. And those people that we had quoted didn't know either, they were quoting a sand, filtration system. And bear in mind, that's 40,000 now. If the pump doesn't work with that filtration system, then you cycle a pump in there. Before you piecemeal a couple things together, we're at the total replacement cost, which is where everything works together. I think what I've seen that James had looked at is a system that we need to go to is actually a complete system that filters the chlorine, has monitors the flow rate, has a filtration system for the pump, and the VFD, all would be new equipment. And there'd be no doubt that it works together. And bidding it that way, we ought to be able to get, I don't know how many pool contractors there are in the state, but it won't be single source, because this, it'll be open for everybody. And it's not anybody that does that kind of work will be able to bid on it.
So we've been talking about repairing the pool since September, October? Are you just now being brought into this conversation? Is that why we're just now hearing it here in January?
Yeah, Barbara, I mean, I've been pretty tied up. I'm not in that department. When the mayor asked me to come in and talk to me about it, that's when I got involved.
So you hadn't dealt with any of these other bids or anything else until now? So,
I got on
I
for
guess
the
my
hydraulic part of it.
question-
You know, when you're starting to talk about the elbow fix and the total replacement, I don't need to be involved in. You know, I think, you know, when you start to talk about bringing in a new sand filter that's gonna work with the existing pump, I have major fears with that.
okay, I mean, I understand that, but my question is, we've been talking about this for several months now. So do we have people that aren't qualified to make these decisions that gave us these first quotes on what we were gonna do? Why are we just now hearing about this? And we gave a directive at our last meeting that we wanted these bids, and then all of a sudden they were pulled, and the council wasn't notified. Can somebody answer that question?
Well, I think when the mayor brought me into his office and asked me, and I advised him, I think that's when the directive come out to, you know, the bid was already out at that time. You know, and they had.
It's a request for bid.
Request for bid, yes. Request for bid. You know, it's already ran in the paper, so it's too late to retract it. You know, there's no pulling it out. And the course of action was to follow through on that or to bring it back in front of you all. And that's what that's what the decision the mayor made was, you know, that was my decision. That, you know, the two choices to me are either put the elbow on it and cross your fingers and hope that it works, you know, or hope it stays open. You know, it could go out at another time, you know, any day,
Mm-hmm.
or do the total fix.
Right, it's an old pool. It's like driving an old car. You never know.
Not the
100%.
$40,000 fix, because you just threw $40,000 out of it at it in the hopes that it'll work.
And I think all that patching in the long run is gonna cost more if it hasn't already.
That's what makes it so hard to piecemeal a new sand filter with it. And obviously the sand filter system that they put in it wasn't very many of them made. They didn't make them like that with the three sand filters like that.
Right, it's a very unique situation. I agree with that. I don't argue that point at all.
So that's about the most major thing you're seeing, or is that there are some other issues you're seeing as well, is what you're saying?
Well, the only other unknown is when we take all that piping out.
What else may be there?
All the piping
Mhm.
under the concrete. Obviously, you won't replace it. You know, they have a lining contractors that come in and line that pipe. If the chlorine and the flow has ate away at all that ductile iron pipe underneath the concrete stuff, you know, there's contractors that actually line that with new technology, where they don't have to dig it up and replace it.
And again, I guess we're back to, like Councilman Palmer was saying, that basically, Mayor, if you could bring us something back, we can definitely look at it and see what the options are and see where we can go from there.
Well, I think it's important that we get bids from a qualified pool company, but in those bids, we also need to say that the work needs to be done by Memorial Day weekend, so we can guarantee that the pool's open. So I want to make sure that when we bid this out, that we bid that out with those dates, so we can have the pool open. Because if it's going to take them till midsummer to get it done, we might as well gamble with an elbow, you know?
So I'm still kind of confused. What exactly is the difference between what we're bidding and what we had asked for last week? I mean, I thought that's what we asked for. We wanted the pool fixed. We didn't want that whole big $100,000 plan. We said, put the bid together to get the pool fixed. So why was that part not carried out?
Because I'll answer that, because I took a closer look at it, stopped what I was doing for a while, and looked at it more closely, and I decided that from what I could see, what we were doing is asking people with experience as a plumber to come in and solve a very serious problem for us. And then I looked at the other bid that we had for doing it from a company that does this and specializes in pools, and decided that what I needed to bring back to you is, do you want me to continue to get a plumber to come in and fix this? Do you want to just replace the elbow for now? Or do you want to replace it, to fix it for the long term.
How was that bid written? Did that bid say you had to be a plumber, or was
No,
it
no,
just?
no, 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 that didn't say
That's
anything.
what you're saying.
No, it's not what I'm saying.
Anybody
I'm
could
saying,
bid
I'm
on
making a
that.
comparison between somebody who has a mechanical company, a mechanical.
But it was an
There-
open bid. A pool person could have bid on it, or anybody that is capable of fixing that.
Well, where you all left it last week,
Yes.
when I seen it, it was just to replace the sand filter. You was replacing an old, sand filter that's been there since that pool opened, the 3 sand filters, replacing it. One
And
sand-
lining it, possibly lining.
Well, that price didn't include the line.
We had a quote
Yeah,
that
that
included
would
the
double-
lining.
That would double the price.
Right.
You're up to 70,000, but that keeps the same VFD, that keeps the same pump, same impeller. It just uses it to pump the water through the new sand filter. You was replacing the whole trio of the sand filters that's in there, if you've been in there, with one sand filter. And redoing the pipe just to
Mhm.
connect it all back together, basically what you was doing.
When did we get the filter, the chlorine? When did we purchase that? Do you remember? The new chlorine system?
I think you got new, some new components last year, didn't you?
Got a new,
Injection.
regulator
Yeah, you got a new injection.
earlier this year.
This year. So we don't need it now. I mean, we're just totally throwing that away.
Well, I mean, that's why, that's what, we're piecemealing it together.
What I am asking for you to do is take a closer look at the scope of work. And Councilman Palmer has taken a look at that and said, should change the scope of work and put out a bid with that scope of work for people who work only on pools.
So I'd like to
That's
make.
what's before us.
So I'd like to make a motion that we, open a bidding process for, pool-specific companies to solicit bids for the total fix of the pool. And if those bids come back and it's not something we're capable of doing, we always have the option to fix the elbow and hope
Yes.
for the best. But here's my take on it, is that we need to fix this pool problem. And if the bids come back and because of budget restraints, we have to wait and look at this process next year, we do have the option of fixing the elbow and opening the pool and hope for the best.
Yes.
But I think that we need to move forward with the intent of fixing the pool.
Yes.
And so if it goes out in the middle of the year, we have to close it, and then we have to have a conversation as we prepare for the budget. At least we'll know what the cost is, and when we go into the budget process, we know that that pool is a priority. So I make the motion that we open a bid process for pool-specific companies to give us a bid on a total repair of the pool, and let the professionals give us the scope.
Can you
I'll
put
second
can you
that.
put a date on that motion?
Yes, could you please?
Put a date,
Yes,
The
that
date
it'd be
that it
completed
must be
by,
Completed by.
the bid.
yes.
And the bid goes out.
In the bid
work must be
process.
completed by us.
Need to bid
date
the
specific,
entire repair,
which is
you
Yeah,
Memorial.
yeah, the
Yeah,
repair.
yeah,
repair, the
here's
entire
why I
repair.
don't wanna do that, is because, I don't know that that's realistic, based on what I'm hearing, that somebody's gonna come in with the weather and fix that pool and have it open. When we get the bids and the projection of completion dates from those professionals, I think the question to this body is,
Do we
do
wanna
we
do
say
that?
to the community, pool's gonna be shut down, but when it opens, it'll be fixed? Or we're gonna put an elbow on it, hope for the best, and then worry about that in the next budget cycle.
Mhm.
But I'm not willing to, I'm not a pool repair guy.
Right.
But for some reason in my mind, being winter and that being an outdoor pool, I'm just not sure that locking somebody into a date is feasible. Let the professionals tell us whether it's possible or not. And then once we get bids back and projected completion dates, then we can make our decision based on the advice of those who are professionals.
I think we structured the bid and we asked in the bid for them to submit a completion date with it.
Right.
Yes.
On top of the price. They submit a price and then they submit the completion date. And you all have the power, I'm assuming, with the criteria, I don't know, we might have to get with Mr. Pike with that, to choose. Say bidder A, his completion time is June 30th. We like his price, but we don't like his timeline. Bidder B, his price is $5,000, $10,000 higher, but his completion date was April the 18th. That you all may have the power to choose that one.
We can choose the best bid. We don't have to
So I got a
do-
motion.
And
We
you have a
motion
second.
and you
now.
have a second. We have a second from Tony. So a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion?
I
Take a-
have a question. How
I
long is
wasn't
this?
quick enough.
No, you weren't quick enough. I'd stop you anyway. Now you made me lose my train of thought, so it takes longer.
How long did the bid
How long
cost?
is the bid going to be out for? Because this last bid was only out for a week, and there was some
more like
concerns
3
with
on
that,
this one.
especially because there was a holiday within that too.
We'd already talked, about that. The last one was a pretty simple bid, just replacing sand filters. Usually we, something like this, we allow, I would probably allow 3 weeks.
So now we're in December.
We in February.
Oh, February, yeah. Y'all got me,
Sixteen still?
yeah, y'all got me so confused.
And you all can decide, whether it's special call or something, you get the bids back in and see how fast you want to proceed from there.
Who's gonna write up the specs? Are you gonna write them up?
I'm assuming I'll help James and we'll get together something on the bid.
Yeah, I don't foresee us writing up specs at all. We are calling in experts to assess the problem and give us a bid on what it takes to fix it.
And I thought that's.
James, are you a pool man? I mean, you're an expert on pools? Right. So put a bid out that we have major pool problems. We need somebody to come in, assess the pool, give us a bid on what it takes to fix it and when you can fix it. It's simple.
And I thought that's what we said.
Yeah.
I thought that's what we said.
Don't do that.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
It's still called a bid.
I totally agree, but I guess my point is-
We put the specs together, me and James will be doing that. That's the
Right.
only thing Barbara asked.
Right.
We
Yeah.
put the specs together.
but Barbara's gonna be confused or frustrated if we miss something in trying to be the experts. So whatever you have to do, I just want an expert opinion on the pool and what it costs to fix it. And we'll go from
Me and James will put the specs.
there. Okay, good.
Any other discussion?
Do you know when those might be ready by? So we know when our 3 weeks will start from?
I'm assuming as quickly as possible.
Maybe the end of this week?
I don't wanna commit to something that,
I just don't want this to drag on where we're not even getting the bid out until March.
You're not the only one that doesn't want this to drag on. I don't want it to
But we've
drag
already
on.
dragged on a week without
Okay,
council
let's
knowing.
get over that and talk about what we're doing now. I'm going to put a requirement on our engineer to make this his top priority. And we're going to discuss it, and if he tells me he can't have it for a month, we're going to discuss it some more. And we're going to come in with a time frame of when he can have this done. It's probably going to be someplace in the middle of next week.
Okay.
Okay, is any other discussion? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote, start this out.
Chris Yates,
Yes.
Kim Thompson.
Yes.
Tanya Seabrook.
Yes.
Edward Palmer.
Yes.
Stan Holmes.
Yes.
Barbara Baker.
Yes.
We have 6 yeses.
Okay, the motion carries. Toby, don't go away. The next item we have before us is, if you read over the resolution, which is Resolution 2017-002, I need a vote from the City Council that gives me the authority to execute a memorandum of agreement whereby we agree to accept $875,000 from the Transportation Cabinet.
So moved. Do you need me to read the whole resolution?
No.
No.
Second.
Have a motion and a second? Any discussion?
This is the 100%.
Yes, we're accepting $875,000, but
If we
probably
get-
$100,000 will be spent just for design, and the $775,000 will be for construction.
If we get awarded.
So I think
Oh, but that one is
I think it's coming to us. It's already in the budget and approved. In the transportation budget. Okay, as significant as that is, I think we'll do a roll call vote on that too.
Centennial Road connected.
Yes.
Stan Holmes.
Yes.
Edward Palmer.
Yes.
Tanya Seabrook.
Yes.
Kim Thompson.
Yes.
Chris Yates.
Yes.
We have 6 yeses. It passes.
All right. And now I need a motion to look at Resolution 2017.003.
So moved.
Motion, have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Okay, look at the data there and see if you have any discussion or questions on it.
The motion was to approve the resolution,
Yes.
correct?
Does he need to include the dollar figure?
Hmm?
Did you say the dollar figure? We don't need that.
Well, the dollar figure on this is an 80-20 match, so it's $326,480, and that would be $65,296 that we have to come up with. And we would get in the way of a grant, $261,184. $261,184.
When we spoke of this at our last meeting, I did ask the chief financial officer if he had ideas of where we would get the money to pay for this. Could he come?
No, he doesn't need to come up. He has no idea
He
where
has
he
no
would get
idea.
that money, because we're in the middle of a budget cycle. He doesn't have the authority to do anything with that budget other than to wait till the end of the year and see if we have money left over.
But this is
So if
going
you
next
want to
year,
do
right?
this, you want to commit $65,000 to do this, you need to realize that we may have to amend the budget later to get it done.
This is for the new budget year, though. The
We
after
don't have a
July.
budget for the new budget year.
Well, I'm just.
When would we start construction on this?
This definitely be in 2017, 18.
That would be, so it'd be a 17-18 budget.
And our chief financial officer is a very smart guy that's been in that job for a very long time. I'm sure he would have some idea. He's been there.
I understand that, but
15.
what's he gonna tell you? That I'm gonna get the money here? Out of what pot I'm gonna take it out of? That's your decision when we discuss the 2017-18 fiscal year budget as to where you're gonna get the money to do this. What you need to do now is decide, do we want to commit that we will find money in the next fiscal year, $65,296, to do this project? That's all we need to do right now. There's no way that we can identify where that's going to come from until we get to budget time.
Okay.
And when we get to budget time, I may tell every directorate that I have that we're gonna cut your budget by 5%. And then it's my responsibility, I think, then to come back to you and say, the way we're going to find the $65,000 is this. And that's when we tell you, here's where we're gonna get the money. So you can't have the CEO tell us, the chief financial officer, tell us right now where that money's gonna come from.
Okay.
So, any other discussion on this? So if there's no further discussion, what you are deciding now is that we are willing to give $65,000 out of the general fund for a $326,480 project. If there's no more discussion, would you call the roll?
Chris Yates,
Yes.
Kim Thompson.
Yes.
Tanya Seabrooks.
Yes.
Edward Palmer.
Yes.
Stan Holmes.
Yes.
Barbara Baker.
Yes.
6 yeses, it passes.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, the last resolution that we have is Resolution 2017-004. And that's another 80-60 match. And this one cost $99,600. And our portion of that would be $19,920.
Mhm.
So it's the same thing that we discussed on the last one. Do we want to do this, or do we not want to do it?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any
I'm
more
sorry,
discussion?
I heard
Barbara.
two. I'm
Barbara.
sorry. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote.
Barbara Baker.
Yes.
Stan Holmes.
Yes.
Edward Palmer.
Yes.
Tanya Seabrooks.
Yes.
Kip Thompson.
Yes.
Chris Yates.
Yes.
It passes.
Okay, that takes us to comments, and that's not on your agenda because we inadvertently left it off. But there are comments from the city council, comments from the mayor, and comments from the citizens of Ratcliffe who have signed up to make comments. But before we do that, I want to give Kim Thompson the opportunity to welcome some people who are here in the audience with us today.
Okay, yeah, Kimberly, are you here? Kimberly's brought a Sullivan class, and they have a project, and there are three council members that are sponsoring it. One being myself, one being Councilwoman Tanya Seabrooks, and the other being Councilman Stan Holmes. So, Kimberly, would you tell us a little bit about it?
First, I want to thank City Council and those that did sponsor the project for Sullivan University. Your sponsorship's really important. It's a new project where the class gets to invest in the stock market. They are given $100,000 and expected to have a return at the end of the time frame. It's ran on real-time, fake money. But because of the 3 councilmen that were listed and woman, we are able to participate this term in it, something we wanted to do last year, and we weren't able to make the time cut last year. So we're kind of excited to try something new. Can't guarantee we'll make a whole bunch since it's our first go around with it, but we're certainly going to try. So the way that I broke up the teams was the most experienced in my classes that's had my class before, and then some of the newer ones, we broke it up into 3 different teams, and I'm just going to ask you to draw an envelope, and then you'll learn who your team lead is, where you can check in with them on your sponsorship. And I'll go ahead and let the new one and lady draw first.
Thank you.
Man, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but you didn't get to draw.
I noticed. I noticed. She took care of her dad.
If you want to go ahead and pull the team, and I'll have the team lead stand up with your number.
Team 2?
Leader of team 2. And if you want to introduce yourself.
My name's Jimmy. I'm the leader of Team 2. My team
Can you stand up, please, team
is
2?
Brian, Rodney, Jordan, Layman. We're Team 2. Very good at what we did.
I trust you.
You're gonna make us some money, huh?
18.
Well, that's her team, not your team.
Well, don't I get a cut?
Those are the game changers.
Oh,
No,
game
those
changers.
Game changers. Thank you.
Kim, you want to introduce your team?
Team 1.
Team 1 leader, please.
I'm Tamiko. I'm the leader of Team 1. The rest of my team is stand up. So I have Tim, Myrtle, Cameron, Heather. We are Team 1. We're the millionaires.
We will see.
And Forbes magazine, will you please stand up? Team 3, Forbes magazine.
I'm the leader of Team 3. My name is Natalie, and it's Kingston, Austin, Madden, Judge.
You have a large team.
And we'll be sure not to.
They know what they're doing.
They can do it.
So thank you again very much. I'm glad to introduce the teams. If you guys get an opportunity to follow through with them, or any other city council wants to pair up and kind of follow through and see what goes on, we'd be happy to have you over at Sullivan Tuesday nights, 5:45 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kim. I see several Boy Scouts in the audience. I don't think you guys just decided one night that you wanted to come to this city council meeting. I think somebody probably told you you needed to come for some purpose. So could somebody who's speaking for the Boy Scouts tell us what you hope to get out of this city council meeting tonight? There we go. Come on up here to the microphone, young man.
My name is Erica Wiener. I am the Rebo leader for TAC 48. And we are here just to learn how our city government is ran. And I have boys here. I have Aiden and Michael,
Could they stand up so we can kind of see them?
Jacob, Mitchell, and Vicente.
Well, boys, I hope you learned something while you're here tonight. I'm sure some of the city council would be willing to stay behind after this meeting is over to answer any of your questions. And I will also stay behind to answer any of your questions. With that, we always have a sign-up sheet for anybody who wants to speak at the city council. And we have Faye Dillard.
Faye? Did you say Faye?
Faye, D-I-L-L-A-R-D, I believe. There you go, Faye.
Hey, Mike. I have a question for Mr. Pike, please.
Okay, have a seat. And we don't
I
usually
won't fall
answer
off the
questions,
stage,
but
will I?
we won't usually do that. But you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. I'm so short, you can't tell the difference.
There you go.
Ms. Dillard,
You want to pull the microphone over to you, please?
Yeah, that gentleman that, I couldn't hear him either, but I can't hear anyway.
There you go.
you can ask, but I may not answer.
There you
Well, I'm sure you have the question, I probably just missed it. on the old business from residential 4 and residential 6 and residential 3 zones. Did you specify what you're wanting to zone it to?
There is I read a summary of the ordinance. The full ordinance has an exhibit with a map that you can look at that shows how the property is being designated.
So it's not just take these 3 residentials and put them over
You
to,
have to see the map. The map will be published.
but all 3 of these are being switched over to one?
It's a
zone.
combination.
Oh, I kind of thought that's what you were saying there, but I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Yep.
And, let's see, my other question. First, I just want to say thank you to Mrs. Seabrook, the new, I think you're Tuesday after the Christmas party. Evidently, she was the person who had the Christmas party for everybody down at the community center. And I just want to say thank you. It was very nice. All of us empty nesters really enjoyed having somebody, and whoever the workers were, they did a great job.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
And I just want to say thank you to Chris Yates about the football team. I thought that was very nice and very needed. So thank you. I think y'all saw him on TV. And Mike Weaver, I want to say thank you to you for giving out a, hey, come on down to the Veterans Hospital. We probably won't get it, but,
Don't give up on that yet?
oh, well, okay. I mean, I don't know. They keep saying, you know, we're going to do it, we're not going to do it. Anyway, thank y'all very much.
Thank you for coming
you.
forward.
Thank you. Oh, and I'm looking forward to your breakfast
All
at the
right.
end of the month.
The next one is Amanda Dupin. Want to talk about parents' concern.
Hello, how are you guys doing?
Hello.
My name is Amanda.
Wait until you have a seat there. Pull the mic upward so that you're on camera over there and they
Got
know
it.
what you're saying and we all know what you're saying.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay. Well, my name is Amanda Dupin. I have been a resident of Radcliffe for about 8 years now. My concern is all the talk that's going on about the new league and the old league. First and foremost, I'm a parent. And I have a son that represents North Hardin Youth Football League. He has represented the city of Radcliffe very, very well. His team was #1 in the state. I don't know if you guys knew that, but they led #1 in the state 8U. They led, okay? They worked their behinds off. We have boys that work their behinds off to represent the city of Radcliffe. And we've had a lot of things that are going out, a lot of things on the news. My son was actually the boy in the video putting in work for the city of Radcliffe on that video. I just think that the fact that you guys are no longer recognizing them, you're saying that you're not recognizing the kids that are dedicated and have devoted themselves to this league. Another thing is that I know that there's a lot of stuff going around about having felons. My only concern is when the league was split, are you saying that none of the people on the new league have any felons? Nothing on the background? That's something that I'm concerned about, because I feel like if there can't be a double standard, if somebody on this league can't be recognized because of a felon, it should be exactly the same for the new league also. I do want to put out there that I have no ill will towards the new league whatsoever. I actually have friends that are on that team. My son has teammates that have decided to go to the league. No ill will. I'm actually from Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm from a bigger town, so we're used to having numerous leagues, not just one person that represents that city. So I was really excited actually with the fact that we were going to have 2 leagues so that people just had the option. Here in this small town here in Radcliffe, we don't have a lot of options here. We just got 2 Walmarts. We got options, okay? We don't have a lot of options. And when it comes to kids, they need options. They need options. They need to try new things. We should be able to have 2 leagues. Whether or not you want us to play on Dolly Park anymore, okay, that's fine. But as far as saying that you don't recognize the league anymore, it's offensive, because I'm North Hardin, and I'm a resident here, and you're telling me that you don't recognize me or my child because we decide to associate ourselves with another league. That's one of my concerns. I just wanted to put out there also that I guess the ill will that did come a part of it was the way that the league was split up at the end of the season. My son and a lot of the other kids worked really, really hard to be on what's called an all-star team. My son thought he was playing with his friends, and it came to a point where our 8-year-old kids were having to choose between whether or not they wanted to stay with their coaches or if they wanted to play with their friends. That's not something that I think that an 8-year-old should have to choose from. It was so bad that we didn't have enough people for our 9-year-olds, and they didn't get to play. They didn't get to play, and they worked really hard to play on an all-star team. So that was something that I just wanted to put out there. Something that I had spoke to Mr. Yates about on a Facebook thing. I was concerned about the fact that at the end of our season, we have an all-star season. We have a regular season, and then we have an all-star season. Because we didn't have enough kids, we were actually having kids drive all the way down from Campbellsville to make our practices. They were coming down to be a part of a team, and they come down here and were locked out of the field. What Mr. Yates said is that North Hardin was told that they were closed for the season. The season was not over though. So I don't understand why it was closed for the season. The season was not over. We still had a game. We still had other tournaments so that we could represent the city of Radcliffe. Another thing is, I had actually called one of the people on the council. My son has some shoulder pads, and I was told that they've been trying to get our equipment out of Dolly Park since December the 6th, and nobody will let us know anything about it. So another thing is, when can we get the equipment that North Hardin, purchased, or the fact that my son has stuff in there that I need to get out of there, but nobody seems to be getting back with them in regards to getting their stuff out of there. And as far as them saying that everybody has felons, I really hated the fact that Mr. Yates tried to throw in there that there could have possibly been child molesters, because that's the first thing that people heard. And my husband is a train conductor, and he's had 3 phone calls from people that he worked with wanting to know what is going on with the league that he is representing. So I feel like it was just kind of thrown out there, and I think that it's a double standard, because I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that what's over on this side is over on this side. And you're completely back in this team that the city only recognizes KYFL, but we didn't even get any recognition. As a parent, we were told that the mayor was going to be at our opening. At the end of the opening, everybody was like, we thought the mayor was going to be here. Where did the mayor come from? And when we spoke to council, they said that you had confirmed that you were going to come. They brought a handwritten letter, and your assistant told them that you would be there to participate. And then nobody showed up. Nobody, not even a representative. And then nobody even called to say, I'm so sorry that I didn't make it. We publicized that you were going to be there. And so as far as recognition goes, if you don't have to recognize us for us to be successful, but I think that you should, because we have kids and we have coaches and we don't have felons out there. We have retired military. We have active duty military. We have train conductors. We have teachers. We have people that have degrees in what we're doing out on that field. We have parents. We have parents who come out here and we've had coaches pay for haircuts, pick kids up every single day, buy kids cleats, mouthpieces, make sure they have everything that they need. These are the type of people that you are calling felons or potential child molesters. Those are the people that you're talking about. And I feel like after 30 years of representation, after 30 years of parents and coaches and kids working their behinds off to represent the city of Radcliffe, for you to say that you're no longer going to recognize them, I think that it's a little classless.
Okay, I think we have the gist of what you want to talk about. And we normally allow 5 minutes. You've been given 10.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Now, periods like this are comment periods, and that's what she just did. She just made some comments. And now I'm going to give the city council, some members of the city council are very much involved in this, to respond to some of that and tell why we have done what we have done. And I'll start to my left with Councilman Yates, who is very, very familiar with all of the youth leagues that have played here ever since he played in them himself.
Well, I've prepared a statement, but first of all, I'd like to address Ms. Dupin's concern. You talked about the season and being shut out of the fields. Back in May, there was a contract signed by Mr. Livers. In May, Mr. Livers, the Football League and Soccer League and Baseball League, well, the Baseball League was known prior to, because their season starts before. But they knew back in May when they signed the contract a specific date when that field would shut down. They knew that in May, and they said that was okay. So poor communication from the leadership at the league is why you guys were not aware that the fields were locked up. Now, I received a call. I can't remember the name. It was either Amanda or Melissa. I can't remember who. Someone called me and said that the fields had been locked up and that y'all still needed to play. I talked with the mayor, and I think at that time that everything done been winterized, but I talked with the mayor and got the fields opened back up for another 2 to 3 weeks so you guys could practice. However, you couldn't use the restrooms because it's been winterized. So I apologize that you guys were locked out, but your leadership knew in May that those fields would be locked down. As far as your equipment, get with Mr. Hummel. Your department has the keys. You'll be able to get the equipment. That's no big deal. So now I'll go into my prepared statement here. Some of you have questioned why the decision was made to no longer recognize the North Hardin Youth Football League. The answer is simple. The city makes each youth league sign a contract prior to the season. Did the league president sign a contract with the city saying that background checks would be conducted prior to allowing coaches on the field? The answer to that is yes, he did. Did they fulfill that? No, he did not. In May, he signed that contract. In about August, coaches were out on the field with kids. September 16th is when the background checks were conducted. Did the president also, in the contract, say he'd provide monthly financial statements? The answer is that to yes. Have they provided monthly financial statements? The answer is that to no. Coaches are supposed to be positive role models. I'm sure there's some quality coaches out there. And I guarantee you, I know some of them. There are some quality coaches out there. Unfortunately, the mayor's office, the recreation director, Councilman Holmes, and myself have received numerous complaints complaining the way the league has been ran and about altercations between coaches, parents, and board members. One of the complaints were that the background checks had not been conducted, which turned out to be true. We'll immediately ask for all coaches' information so we could run one. Turns out there were numerous coaches with felony charges, which include trafficking within 500 yards of a school. Do you guys want someone that's trafficking drugs, intermingling with your children? Felony evading, which I just asked the chief what felony evading means. Felony evading means when you're trying to evade a police officer after you've committed another crime, such as domestic violence, DUI, something like that. Carrying a concealed deadly weapon by a convicted felon, and assault, to name a few. Are those the mentors you guys want coaching your kids? These are the people I'm talking about. So when you have that caliber of people out there, you can expect that type of behavior about the complaints we was receiving. So while some of these charges are scary, what scares me more is what it could have been. To you talking about child molester, I'm talking about what could have been. I'm not accusing anybody out there of being child molester. But from August to September 16th, there could have been a pedophile out there on the field with the kids because leadership did not do what they were supposed to do and provide the background checks. So after reviewing all of the complaints, the mayor, recreation director, Councilman Holmes, and myself collectively come to the agreement that it was in the best interest for the safety, health, and welfare of our children to cut ties with North Hardin Youth Football League. For all the concerned parents out there, there's a new league that's been formed. If Ricky Garcia and Dr. Coffey would stand up. These two have formed a league. They've got some of their other board members with them. They're off to a good start. They already have their 501c3. There was a substantial amount of money donated. I'm not going to say, okay? Dr. Coffey has donated $10,000 of her own money to get this league kicked off. So
Now that you've finished with that, you're not supposed to clap in here.
So I just want to assure the citizens of Radcliffe that there will be football at Dolly run by well-respected people within the community. So thank you guys for stepping up. And I also want to say one last thing, that I guess there's been a radio announcement, and somewhere along the line the radio mentioned soccer, that we've had problems with soccer. We have a strong relationship with, the city has a strong relationship with the soccer league as well as the baseball league. We have no complaints with them. So I want to make sure that the citizens know that the soccer and baseball we've had very little complaints. Every league has a complaint, 3 or 4 complaints a year, not 30 to 40 like we've received this year. So that's all I have to say.
Would you mind hitting a little bit on finances and what you have witnessed in all your association with the leagues that have played here and the money that...
Yeah.
Is this a trial?
Is that a rhetorical question?
No, I'm just asking. It seems like it's kind of a trial here. We're accusing people and
No,
there's no trial. There's no trial here. You're out of order with that.
Well, I may be, but
No,
Yeah.
I think what the mayor's hitting on is
Somebody has asked why we didn't recognize the league.
North Hardin Youth
He's telling you
Football
why
League
we didn't
was,
recognize the league.
was founded about 30 years ago. I'm not for sure if Tom Arflin was the founder, but I do know that he led the league for 21 years until his passing in June of 2011. When Tom had the league, he had the league financially stable. Everything was on the up and up. At one time, early in his, at one time during his tenure as presidency, he had $150,000 in the account. Since his passing in 2011, of course, he didn't leave that much in 2011, but since his passing in 2011, not this administration, but previous administrations almost bankrupted the North Hardin Youth Football League. So since 2011, the North Hardin Youth Football League has progressively went downhill, and we've started receiving more and more complaints. So, you know, this has been a troubled league for probably since 2011. It started to decline. I'm not accusing anybody in this current administration of any financial wrongdoing. I'm just saying that financial statements wasn't turned in like they were supposed to. You know, we've had problems with the youth baseball league before, and the reason I know so much about the youth sports is Radcliffe Baseball Softball Association back in the day, they bankrupted. The city recognized myself and some other members as a new league to play on the fields, and I built the RYBSO up and left it in good hands. And since I've left, and after worked so hard, we've had financial wrongdoings there too. So, you know, it's very important that we get the monthly financial statements and that we have coaches that are on the up and up. And we can't have felons, you know. And I got news for the North Hardin Youth Football League. That's all fine and dandy. Y'all go play at John Hardin. But I guarantee you the same coaches that we're not going to allow, they're not either. Because they do not allow felons on the field either. What's that?
No. You're not on the... If you want to come up and ask if we'll recognize you, come up to the table and I will. Okay, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, my name is Joe McKinney. This was my first year working with the Football League, the North Hardin Youth Football League, and learning what I've learned tonight. I'm very overwhelmed, shocked, because I want to work with the organization that's coming in, that's for the kids, but now I feel like being blindsided. All of this, my grandson played for the youth, you know, and having felons and child molesters. As a board,
No, there was no child molesters. I'm saying that there was potential.
Potential.
You know,
Okay,
what I'm getting
correct.
at is we would have never known till December, or September 16th. Yeah,
Okay,
there's-
we'll let you finish your.
Okay,
with
and all I'm saying is, as I go along, I don't want my integrity to be tarnished because I spent 1 year with the league. I knew nothing about their history, their indifferences with one another, their indifference with the city council here today.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to say.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, let me just tell the whole audience when I became concerned about this. Because the city of Ratcliffe owns the fields, and we decide who can play on them and who can't. And we don't have room for 2 leagues, so there's only 1 football league. I became concerned when I started asking about background checks. Do we have all these background checks? And the answer to that was no. And so I had the leadership of the league go to our chief of police and get a local background check on every coach that was coaching. And if they didn't meet the requirements that we were looking for, they could not coach anymore. So your kids who were playing did have a coach after the middle of the season who was vetted. But he wasn't vetted with an NCIC. All of the coaches and everybody who works with youth, I don't care if you're with a youth football league, softball, baseball, whatever it is, if you're working for a school, you're going to have this background check or you're not going to be in the position where you can influence kids. And that's the National Criminal Information Check, and that's the one that we didn't have. When we didn't have that, and I ordered the chief of police to do a local one to find out what we had, and we ended up getting rid of a couple of coaches, I said to the coach, I'm going to take a chance on this because we're going to let you finish the season, because to do it any other way would be punishing the kids who, and that's what this should all be about. So anything that we do here, anything that we do is to protect your kids that play. And that's why we've taken the action that we have taken. Now, does anybody else on the city council, starting with Kim, you have anything to say about it?
No.
Okay. Tanya?
Yeah, I do. I have a question, and forgive me, Chris, because I'm just finding out about all this over the last couple of days. So you're saying when it came down to the background checks, this was all as of last summer, correct? Last summer to the fall.
When the background checks were conducted on September 16th.
Okay, so.
They should have been conducted before the league started play.
Before they started to play. Okay, so after you got all the background checks, were all the coaches that had the felonies, were they dismissed at that time?
I don't personally know the coaches they're supposed to have been, so I
The
assume they
coaches that were
were.
asked to leave did not pass the local background check.
So they
None of them received an NCIC.
Okay, so they were removed, correct?
Yes, they were.
Okay, so as of this moment, and I'm asking this question again because I found out it's this year that they will no longer be able to play. So has everybody completed their background checks for all the baseball, the soccer, or everybody from as of last year?
As of last year, yes.
Okay, so everybody's background checks are done. They don't have any felons anymore. So why exactly are we not? I guess what I'm looking at it from my standpoint, could it have been handled a little differently in this case?
No, it could not.
It could not have been handled differently?
No.
Okay.
The thing is, there was numerous other things going on over there, but this was part of it. You've got to look at, yes, they was done, but it was a lack of leadership and poor judgment not doing them in the first place. You know, you put children at harm. With that compiled with all the other problems, that's why the decision was made.
And I guess, so I'm just asking the question, 'cause you're looking
Yeah.
at 30 years of having something, and to just
Right.
pull it apart, you know, I just want to see where we are with that. And
Yeah.
so even with the new team, the new league, the background checks will not start until,
Prior to any coach stepping foot on a field with a kid, background checks will be conducted.
That's correct.
okay.
With every youth league we have.
Who's gonna do those? Is the city gonna do them and be responsible, or the league?
No, no. So league's responsibility.
So, so we got the background check. So now what's the protocol for sending in the financial records? Did everybody, all the sports teams, did everybody send their statements in? And again, I'm asking this question
Yeah.
because everyone's here thinking this is something that the council came up with, and Tanya is 13 days old. So we're still trying to work it all out. So I want to make sure I
Right.
understand what's going on here, 16 days, whatever. So everybody last year, everybody else's records are turned in, everybody's up to date, there's no felons as of last year.
That is correct.
Everything is cool, okay. All right, well, that's all I have for now.
Everyone that touches kids. That's not a very good term.
Yeah,
Everyone-
let's rephrase that one.
Everyone that has contact with kids who should be influencing them and mentoring them will have a background check before they ever come on the field to coach, regardless of whether it's football, soccer, baseball, softball.
And
that will happen.
And just
And
for
they
the record, it was brought to our attention that a Radcliffe background check might not necessarily show everything that it should. That's why we're saying now it's going to be going through the NCIC. Because if you have a charge from another state or something like that, it may not show up on a background check from Radcliffe. So everyone will be ran through the NCIC, which soccer already does that. Soccer's a great program. They have their own little regulations, but that's already done. All the other background checks was done through the city, but from now on, they're going to be ran through NCIC.
And that's for everybody.
Everybody. That's from the president of the league down to anybody who's out there interacting with kids.
The other thing that I'll tell you about the finances is all that we are requiring. We're not going to help you spend your money. All you have to do is show us how much money you have accumulated during a month, with a whole lot of it coming from the concession stands that we are allowing you to use. How much money's coming in and where it went. I'm not going to tell you how to spend it. Just want to get control of that, where money doesn't disappear and money has disappeared in the past. We want control of that. We don't want to run a league. But since the fields belong to the city of Radcliffe, and everyone sitting up here at this table is responsible to make sure that your kids are treated fairly, and that your kids are coached by people who are coaching for the right reason, that's why we are taking some of the action that we have taken. Anybody else want to talk about this?
I just have I have another question. So is there any reason why, and again, I didn't know about this, but was there any reason why this issue of what was going on with the football league, why that hadn't come to the council?
Very
at all?
good question.
Because I mean, and I say that because that way we all could have, okay, we understand decisions need to be made, and I understand, you know, where everybody sits, but any reason why we couldn't? Because apparently a letter went out. I mean, this thing took off on social media, and that's how I was informed of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and I get it. I mean, you all have, Councilman Gates, Councilman Holmes, Mayor, you all have had conversations with people, but at the same time, what type of communication did we have here on the council?
The Councilman Holmes called me the other day and said the only thing that I think you did not do the way you should have done it is that you should have sent every councilman notification of what you were doing. And I take full responsibility for that because I didn't. And in fact, when we wrote this letter, I was in the middle of working on a VA hospital. And I can tell you that this VA hospital that I'm working on, been working on it for over 4 weeks. And I go to bed at night thinking about it. I dream about it. I wake up in the morning thinking about it again. And I put all of my effort into that because I think there is a real possibility that we can change the whole face of Radcliffe. I am negligent in not letting the city council know But I took 30 minutes out of my day to write that letter. When I wrote the first letter, it was a page and a half long. I sent it to Michael Pike, and he said, do not send that letter. Just send a short letter that says, we're changing leagues. So maybe I should have devoted an hour to this instead of 30 minutes, but I didn't. So I apologize to the rest of the council for not letting you know, especially you since you're new, but everybody else that's on this council has known about the leagues that play here for a long period of time.
Oh, and I understand where you're coming from, Mayor, and again, it's just me trying to get this, because like you said, like the VA hospital is a huge deal with you. The kids in Radcliffe is a huge deal for me. So, and when it comes down to it, I you know, 30 years of dismantling something, it's really hard for me to absorb at this moment.
It hasn't been dismantled. There's not one kid
that
that can't play football.
Well, they're saying that it's not being recognized at all. So I'm assuming when there's different things that's going on, they're not going to be recognized.
No, they're not. We're not recognizing the Youth Football League. They're not playing on our fields. It's the new league that's going to play on our fields with new leadership. And one of the members that put this together has already donated $10,000 of her own money into it. And they have already started the process of getting the background checks. I have no doubt at all, from knowing the people that are involved with this, that our football league will be run correctly this year. Now, you saying over 30 years, you have a period of 30 years or more where different leaders, one here, one there, one there, one there, one there, there may be 15 different leaders, and over time, this culminated in we had people coaching kids on the field that should not have been there. And we're correcting that, and this is the way we chose to correct it, and I think we've done the right thing.
May I say something?
Well,
Yes.
I want to say
Oh,
something.
Yeah.
too, Barbara.
okay,
Just
well,
come
go
down.
on. That's fine, go on.
Well, I started down at this end, and
done.
I'd like to come on.
Yeah, so,
I was just gonna say this last.
you know, I want to correct a couple of things that were said here tonight. One is you guys, Ms. Duplin, I apologize that by association, I've been categorized with who you call you guys. I was in Frankfurt today and got a call about a news story I had not yet seen. I get back to my office and there's a contractor working on my facility, and he tells me about this issue. So I apologize that somehow I missed it. Nobody from the league called me and told me about these problems, and obviously the mayor has identified that the administration didn't think worthy of this elected official to call him and tell him about the problems. So my telephone number is 270-351-3550. You can get that to any citizen in Radcliffe that wants to talk to this council person. Don't assume that because somebody makes a broad statement about what this body's doing that I know. Now, I think I was elected to be a part of the policies and decisions that this city makes concerning its citizens. How I was left out of the loop of this one, I have no idea. So I apologize for that, and obviously we've got some communication issues to work out here. The mayor has clearly made a statement that everyone sitting on this council, he just said it, is responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how can I be responsible if nobody will pick up the phone and tell me that we got a sandstorm about to hit the city as it relates to how we treat a league that's been in our city for 30 years? Now, I'm not saying that among this bunch, there may have been some bad apples. But I think that had we had some discussion and debate with the 6 elected officials, that perhaps the outcome possibly could have been different. I'm not using this word in the spiritual sense, but I think that if there are problems, let's fix the problems, and let's give opportunity for redemption. I do agree that there's a possibility that we could have more than one league in our city. We keep talking about competing with E-Town for sports parks and having all this sports activity. And yet we're saying we don't have room for 2 leagues to operate and function. Now, my grandkids, I've got 3 grandboys that play in this league, and they've been playing this league for a couple of years. Now, I'm not refuting anything that Councilman Yates or the mayor has said about these problems. But my experience has not been this. I've never seen a fight or anybody intoxicated. I've gone out to my boys' games. We've had a good time. So I don't know about these problems. So my stance is I would encourage the mayor to figure out a way that if this league wants to do business and wants to operate in Ratcliffe, that we find a way for them to redeem themselves, operate within the parameters set by the city, and have a league if they want. And I don't see a problem with us having multiple leagues. So I apologize that for some reason I'm not sniffing in the right places to find out the business of the city. Because I assumed that I was in the information flow, and if something this big was coming down the pipe, that the rest of us would be a part of the conversation. So I'm not here to judge anybody. I have my own understanding of what a felon is, and I don't think because a man, got felony charges for a small amount of marijuana at 18 that he shouldn't be able to coach his child's little league football team at 38. So we need to.
Please don't do that.
We need to contextualize.
You don't accomplish a thing when you do that.
We need to
But when Donnie
contextualize.
does it, it's fine.
We need to contextualize these accusations and find out if we're talking about people that are a danger to our kids or people that made some bad decisions and are just not being recognized as having redeemed themselves and being productive citizens. So I apologize that this decision was made and that you assume that all of us was a part of it. I heard about this, and I still haven't watched the news today, but I heard about this today. And so my public statement is I would love to see the administration work with this football league to get it in compliance and give them an opportunity to have an opportunity to continue to serve our kids. And then if kids want to go to the other league, fine. I commend the doctor for her donation and her initiative, and I do agree. Many cities have multiple leagues, and I don't think that there's a problem with Ratcliffe having multiple leagues.
Thank you for your comments. Councilman Holmes?
Mayor, the only thing that I can say about this, and I appreciate Councilman Palmer's comments and everything, and my phone number is always available as well. You can always reach me as well, and I have had phone calls in the past in reference to this, and talk to people personally about the issue on both sides to see what is going on. So I'd be glad to give you my phone number as well, and you can always find me on Facebook, Twitter, and all those other places as well. But my phone number is 270-300-9554. And again, you already know that I'm available anytime. You can call me anytime. If I don't answer the phone, trust me, leave a message. I will return your call, and I know many people can verify that for you as well. But the only issue I have with this is that if we're talking about doing this, we need to, number one, first, look at the contract that we have with the city. And those are the issues that I had. When this was brought to my attention, that was the issue I had. I wanted to see what that contract was talking about, and were we being accountable for the money that was in the league itself. That's the important thing, because in the long run, the adults don't lose, the kids do. And that's my concern. Because when money is taken away from them, then they don't get the uniforms. They don't get the cleats. They don't get the helmets. They don't get what is needed to play in this league. And that's the important thing to me. So we need to make sure that we are being accountable for the money that's being used out there and what those finances are looking at. When we're looking at these finances, where that money is being spent. I think that's important. Because at the end of the day, it's that young man that's got their uniform on that I'm concerned with. Because they're the ones that are out there. And I want to make sure our kids are taken care of. Bottom line, that's the way I feel about it. And if I had a grandson out there, or even not a grandson, which I don't, that is still important to me. What is this money being spent on, and how is it being spent, and is it being spent properly for the use of our kids? That's the way I feel about it.
Councilwoman Baker?
Apparently, I need to start off with my phone number. 270-272-6849. I'm also very much available. I did have a child that played. He just played 1 year of football. He decided it wasn't his favorite thing. He went back to soccer. I didn't have any issues. It was with the, regular league. I have some concerns, and I do want to point out that, as Councilman Palmer said, we didn't know about it. Everything was decided in the meetings all before we knew. I found it out on Facebook also. Somebody said, "Did you see this letter?" It's like, no, why would we do this? We do need to make sure that this governing body, when it is thrown out there as a group, is the whole group and not just one person. The other thing I want to say is I was very, very concerned. We're wanting to get this VA hospital. We want people to look at us. We want to be an attractive city. Well, I called Mike Pike today to ask him about the legality of that interview on WDRB. I said, oh my gosh, we've got apparently sex offenders out on the field, is the allegations that were made. That is not putting our best foot forward. First of all, it's not even the case as far as we know. None of those articles, that should have never been an interview given out by the city. We have tried a group of people, and they have not even rebutted on this. And if we are doing their finances, exactly where does that hold the city accountable? If we're getting records each month and then money's missing, is the city then responsible?
No.
But
We're not in charge of the finances. The contract says the league has to provide financial reports on a monthly basis. That's all.
Barbara, I would encourage you to watch that video again. I never said that child molesters were on the field. I said there was a potential because
Right,
the
but
background checks had not been ran. It could have been. We don't know what was out there until the background checks are run.
Right.
So your statement was wrong. I never said that child predators were out there on the field.
But you did last night more good for the Elizabethtown football field, football teams, or any other football teams, because anybody says Radcliffe, they're going to say, you don't want to go there, they have felons and child molesters
No,
on the
ma'am.
field.
North
That's
Hardin
what's
Youth
out there.
Football League did more for E-Town than Chris Yates did. North Hardin Youth Football League did more for E-Town by their lack of leadership.
And the last thing that I have is, if you look deeply, the same people that are starting this new league also were affiliated with the old league. So I don't see how we're really separating everything. If there are felons, just have the felons leave. That's what you all told Ms. Seabrooks happened, that there was no felons by the end of the year. They've all left. So why would you disband it now?
Any more
Ms.
comments?
Baker, did you sit on any meetings with us?
One.
Concerned? You did
With-
sit in, so you was aware of the problems there. So the first of you hearing about it was not on Facebook, is that correct?
No, the first I heard about the league being dissolved was
Right.
on Facebook.
But you was aware of the problems in a meeting.
But that was with the new league. Nobody talked to me about the old league.
Okay, I'll just clarify. Thank you.
And that's when I found out that the league president is your big friend.
Okay, let's end this right now.
Really?
Let's end- Out of order, stop. And then let me say one last thing before we adjourn. When a city councilman speaks to you, that's one city councilman speaking to you, and that's one city councilman's opinion. It's not the opinion of the whole body, and the only time the opinion of the whole body comes to bear is when we say, vote. That's when all of these ideas come together, and we decide what we're going to move forward with. So you have a city council, which is a legislative branch, and you have my office, which is the executive. And I make decisions for this city every day. And I guess I should apologize once more for not letting the city council, 4 members of the city council, know what we had just done. I think I explained why that happened. If the city council, who is offended by that, the members that want to just be offended by it, I will try to keep you better informed in the future. And I think I told you what I was doing and why I was doing what I was doing. And so I don't know how many of you have heard about what we're trying to do with the VA hospital. But I've been working on that all day today. And I have the noon Rotary Club of 60 members is who I talked to at noon today. And then I got a call from them through Julie, because I was in Louisville working on this, that said, is there anything that we can do to help make this happen? And so all of you can do something to make this happen. And what I asked the Rotary Club when I finished is, how many of you in this Rotary Club support what I'm trying to do and want me to go forward with it? And it was unanimous. And so I'm continuing to march on that. I think when we first started this, it was a long shot. It's not as much of a long shot today as it was yesterday, and it won't be as much of a long shot tomorrow as it was today. We are coming closer and closer to this. And something will be done about a VA hospital. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, and we may or may not get it here, but it won't be because I'm not trying to do it. So with that, I'd take a motion for adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion? I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? We're adjourned.